Sector Beast Morosa, after being severely injured by Luo Feng's attack, realizes it has regressed from the third stage to the first stage, at the pinnacle of first stage. It suffers distress over losing its original power but quickly analyzes its situation. It concludes that although it is now much weaker, it can still use its remaining aura and intelligence advantage to hunt other sector beasts, especially those in battles where it can exploit weakened opponents. Morosa plans to devour a second stage sector beast to quickly regain strength and return to higher stages. It also considers revealing the secret of devouring miniature universe origins if it fails. Before disappearing, it vows to return to the Milky Way Horde leader and teleports away. After the battle, Luo Feng returns to the primal universe aboard the Star Tower with Hong and Fire Dome. He brings back sector beast blood for analysis, aiming to improve his godly body and potentially break through past 90.000 times gene level. He reflects that although Morosa has been reduced in power, its survival means it will likely hide, recover, and become an even greater future threat. Fire Dome and Hong note that the sector beast will remain hidden for a period. Luo Feng later gathers over 50 true gods from multiple factions in a separate plane. They anxiously await news of the battle, believing victory would mean salvation from the sector beast threat. Luo Feng explains the full battle, replaying the scene and revealing that Morosa used a costly escape technique to survive. He clarifies that Morosa has regressed to the first stage and is currently extremely weak, meaning it is temporarily not a major threat. However, he warns it will likely recover in hiding and become more dangerous later. After delivering the information, he leaves, leaving the true gods with mixed reactions. Meanwhile, Sitting Mountain Guest observes the situation from Earth. Disappointed that Luo Feng failed to kill the sector beast, he becomes concerned that the sector beast threat is more serious than expected and uncertain whether Luo Feng will ultimately be able to stop it. In the Purple Moon Holy Land universe, Purple Moon Ancestor anxiously awaits the result of the battle. When informed that the sector beast is not killed and has escaped, he is alarmed. He recognizes that even a single sector beast surviving poses a major threat, as it will hide and recover. He becomes frustrated and fearful, worrying about the future threat to his miniature universe, and condemns Luo Feng for failing to eliminate it. East Emperor Ancestor calmly observed the situation in his Holy Land universe. Reflecting that Luo Feng had failed to kill the sector beast, he worried about the possibility of stronger sector beasts appearing, yet remained at peace, accepting his limits and placing hope on Luo Feng as the only viable force against the disaster. He believed that if Luo Feng succeeded, survival was possible; if not, destruction was inevitable, and all civilizations eventually face extinction. Meanwhile, in the other Holy Land universe, Purple Moon Ancestor was furious and increasingly anxious due to the failed attempt to kill the sector beast. In contrast, East Emperor Ancestor remained calm and reflective, acknowledging both his own journey and the fragility of all civilizations. Across the universe ocean, reactions varied widely. In the Divine Eye clan, Divine Eye True Master and other true gods held urgent discussions about how difficult it would be to kill the sector beast. A Universe Master, Ink Dragon, argued that the clan should prioritize survival and transcendence over fighting, even suggesting the possibility of submitting to the sector beast. This caused conflict within the clan, as some agreed and others strongly opposed, while a middle stance emphasized that only Luo Feng had any real hope of stopping the sector beast once he reached true god level. The debate escalated into division. Some believed resisting the sector beast was futile and that avoiding confrontation might ensure survival, while others insisted that betraying the primal universe would be unacceptable. Third True Master argued that Luo Feng was the only meaningful hope, though still uncertain due to his incomplete breakthrough. Sixth True Master and others deferred final judgment to Divine Eye True Master, who remained conflicted and frustrated. Elsewhere, many races in the universe ocean considered the possibility of switching allegiance to the sector beast for self-preservation, though they feared rejection or eventual destruction. The Ancestral God School, led by the three ancestral gods, received warnings from the will of the primal universe origin and spread messages discouraging defection. The ancestral gods emphasized that becoming a servant of the sector beast would likely lead to greater disaster rather than safety. At the same time, Sitting Mountain Guest observed from afar that the situation was escalating into a larger crisis and worried that Luo Feng had not yet broken through. while the threat continued to grow. Meanwhile, Luo Feng, inside Luo Feng, remained composed, aware of all external developments. He refused to consider siding with the Sector Beast. He returned aboard Star Tower to the primal universe, bringing back Sector Beast blood to study its structure and improve his understanding. His goal remained clear: to use this insight to achieve a breakthrough and become a true god. The key step needed to ultimately confront the Sector Beast. In the primal universe, within the human territory of the Milky Way Holy Land, the remote ocean remained calm and boundless until the arrival of Star Tower, a 9-story treasure belonging to Luo Feng. Luo Feng appeared from Star Tower alongside Fire Dome True God and Hong. A large group of over 100 human universe masters and true gods quickly gathered upon recognizing him. They had all heard about the looming threat of the Sector Beast calamity and rushed over with anxiety and expectation. One gray-skinned universe master directly asked whether Luo Feng had confidence in facing the Sector Beast, as it was a disaster that could potentially destroy all races in the universe ocean. Luo Feng looked at them and, after a moment of silence, gave a simple, yes. This brief answer slightly eased their tension, though they still felt uneasy. Fire Dome True God then stepped in and dismissed the crowd, saying Luo Feng had important matters to attend to. The gathered experts respectfully withdrew, still carrying lingering worry but also a small glimmer of hope. After everyone left, Luo Feng revealed his true thoughts. He understood that all races were anxious, fearful, and uncertain. However, even he could not guarantee absolute confidence. The Sector Beast's final evolution was still unknown, and all records were incomplete and vague. Even the strongest beings could not fully predict its true limit. Determined to begin his research, Luo Feng turned his attention to a drop of Sector Beast blood stored within Star Tower. He carefully controlled the remote ocean, raising massive waves that submerged Star Tower while isolating the blood in a vacuum space. He did not dare use godly power directly on it, fearing it might be destroyed, as its nature was completely opposite to normal divine energy. This drop of blood, only about 1 kilometer in diameter, was divided into 16 portions for study. Luo Feng activated his talent technique, creation, and the remote ocean body began analyzing it at extreme speed. What he discovered shocked him. The blood contained an incredibly complex internal structure composed of 100.000 light points. Each light point further revealed miniature Sector Beasts in different postures, some roaring, some resting, some in motion, all forming an unfathomably intricate life structure. Even deeper analysis showed patterns comparable to the mysterious Rhinoceros Emperor game, far beyond anything Luo Feng had previously comprehended. Using the boat of Mausoleum, his remote ocean body accelerated comprehension by 10.000 times. Even so, the structure of the Sector Beast life form was far more complex than any true god or void space true god he had ever studied. He had previously analyzed countless life samples from the world of Jinn, including even eternal true gods, but none could compare. He gradually realized a fundamental truth. The life structure of Sector Beasts was not just more complex, but fundamentally different. True gods and other beings followed one kind of structural system, while Sector Beasts followed an entirely separate code, like binary data compared to musical notes. This meant that evolution toward understanding Sector Beasts might lead him onto an entirely different cultivation path. Although he gained flashes of insight, Luo Feng also felt frustration. Even after trillions of eras of research, he was still stuck at the final step of understanding. His talent technique could not fully decode the structure, and the deeper he went, the more he realized how vast and alien this system was. Despite this, he did not stop. He immersed himself completely in analysis, hoping this drop of Sector Beast blood would eventually guide him toward enlightenment. Time passed. In the universe ocean, everything remained relatively calm. Luo Feng's multiple bodies continued their respective duties, one in Star Tower, one in the Mausoleum boat for cultivation, and the golden-horned beast body guarding the universe ocean for vigilance. For 1,000 years, the Sector Beast did not appear again, temporarily easing external tension. In the virtual universe, within a secluded space belonging solely to Luo Feng, he sat alone in a floating palace, quietly observing the endless starry sky. Two figures suddenly appeared, his sons, Luo Ping and Luo Hai. Over time, they had matured and carried their own determination, but they still worried deeply about the Sector Beast crisis. They asked him directly about it. Luo Feng looked at them silently. He knew not only the entire human race depended on him, but even his own family's survival rested on this single crisis. Yet he had no one to rely on except himself. This realization hardened his resolve instead of weakening it. He understood that there was no retreat left. If he failed to reach the third stage of the godly power route in time, he would still force a breakthrough to become a true god and fight with everything he had. Luo Feng had no choice but to abandon the ideal path of reaching 90.000 times life gene level and the third stage of the godly power route. With the impending calamity approaching, time was no longer sufficient, so he decided to directly step into becoming a true god at the second stage instead. Although this was inferior to the highest potential route, it was still far superior to those who became true gods through the law route. At that moment, his sons Luo Ping and Luo Hai called out to him, worried about the enormous pressure he was facing as the only remaining hope for the entire universe ocean against the sector beast calamity. Luo Feng comforted them, telling them not to worry and expressing confidence in his path. He also spoke calmly about the possibility of failure, stating that if he fell, the entire family, including his wife and sons, would face annihilation together. So at least they would not be separated in death. The brothers accepted his words with a firm nod, having undergone long years of training that made them able to face life and death more calmly. After sending his sons away, Luo Feng reflected deeply on everything that would be lost if he failed: his teachers, allies, friends, family, and countless beings who had sacrificed themselves throughout history to protect Earth and the universe ocean. He also thought about ancient powerful beings from previous eras who had already disappeared into nothingness, leaving only faint traces behind. Meanwhile, in the world of Jin, Luo Feng's Earthling original body in the East Army military camp began to prepare for the final stage. His godly body was gradually collapsing and dispersing its energy back into the world of Jin. He realized that once he broke through to true God, all his bodies would merge into a single original body, forcing his Earthling body to return. As a result, he decided to stop interacting with others and isolate himself for the coming events. Soon after, his Earthling body disappeared completely, leaving only another body sustained by godly power in the world of Jin. In the Tilted Peak sector, deep within the sector beast nest, Morosa was engaged in a brutal fight with another severely injured sector beast. The battle between sector beasts was extremely dangerous because both sides shared similar abilities, meaning neither could easily escape or suppress the other through normal means. After a fierce and bloody struggle, Morosa devoured its opponent's vital core and achieved victory, restoring itself to a stronger position and declaring that it would advance to the second stage again. Despite its injuries, it relied heavily on its combat experience and survival instincts gained from fighting countless sector beasts in the past. However, its defeated opponent revealed a critical truth before dying. Morosa's existence and its regression in strength had already been exposed. The news had been spread throughout the nest as an act of revenge, meaning that once other sector beasts learned of its weakened state, it would become a target for almost everyone. Morosa understood this was inevitable, since any opponent it fought would immediately discover its weakened condition. The dying beast also mocked Morosa, warning that because it had dropped from higher stages down to the first stage before returning, its path to becoming the final king was almost impossible. At the same time, it revealed another shocking piece of information. Betty had already reached the fourth stage and was far ahead of Morosa's current level. This revelation stunned Morosa. It realized that its original rival, with whom it had been competing for dominance, had now advanced far beyond it. Morosa understood that its chances of reaching the final throne were essentially gone, especially after falling behind in development stages. However, it remained defiant, believing that since it was already doomed, the only meaningful action left was revenge. Morosa's hatred focused entirely on Luo Feng, whom it believed was responsible for crushing its ambitions and forcing its regression. Even if death was inevitable, it intended to make Luo Feng pay before its end. At the same time, it remained alert to surrounding threats, preparing to flee immediately if stronger sector beasts such as Betty approached. Far away within the nest, Betty sensed Morosa's return and its regression in power. It recalled their long history of rivalry and confirmed that Morosa had indeed fallen to the first stage. It also noted that while Morosa might still be able to defeat injured second-stage opponents, its overall situation was now far weaker than before. Betty then considered the larger situation in the universe ocean, questioning what kind of being could have forced Morosa into such a state. It speculated whether the so-called strongest existence in the universe ocean, the Milky Way horde leader Luo Feng, might be responsible for Morosa's downfall. Betty monitors the universe ocean through intelligence from Zhenjia Emperor and Dragon Rock ancestral god, learning that Luo Feng may or may not have become a true god. It considers two scenarios. If Luo Feng is already a true god, his threat is manageable; if not, his potential growth is extremely dangerous. To respond, Betty decides to accelerate its evolution by devouring even second-stage sector beasts, sacrificing intelligence gathering for faster power growth. After Morosa is defeated by Luo Feng and forced back to the first stage, it returns to the sector beast nest, shocking all sector beasts and revealing that universe ocean lifeforms are far stronger than expected. This triggers fear, frenzy, and accelerated evolution among the sector beasts, increasing the likelihood of an earlier final war. In the universe ocean, all major races and powerful beings become increasingly anxious, placing their hope entirely on Luo Feng becoming a true god. Some, like Purple Moon Ancestor, express extreme expectations, while East Emperor Ancestor believes Luo Feng should have already succeeded given his talent and inheritances. Others, including the ancestral gods and True Yan Master, feel deep worry and emotional pressure, seeing Luo Feng as the sole hope for survival. Luo Feng enters cultivation at the black-striped stone pillar region, testing extreme time acceleration and discovering the limits of his willpower, which is close to but not yet the peak of an eternal true god. He sets up a cultivation environment reaching extremely high time dilation and continuously trains his godly power body under massive pressure. Meanwhile, his main body travels across multiple dangerous regions of the universe ocean and the primal universe, observing countless civilizations, life cycles, wars, destruction, and rebirth without interference. Through this, his understanding of life systems, cosmic order, and existence deepens. Ultimately, Luo Feng reaches a higher level of insight, realizing that celestial systems and life systems are interconnected, with Earth functioning as a core of life gestation in its region. By observing past, present, and possible futures, including both destruction by sector beasts and survival scenarios, he perceives a universal law of connection among all life forms and cosmic structures, pointing toward a shared ultimate destination for all existence. Luo Feng observed the intricate paths of life structure patterns spread across countless planets and worlds, seeing traces of life force drawn toward life-bearing planets. In his perception, his own life structure diagram had already reached a state of perfect completion. However, when compared with the life structure diagram of a sector beast, he realized they were fundamentally different in form, yet there was an unclear, hidden connection between them. Standing in outer space near Earth, Luo Feng entered deep contemplation. At the same time, his other body, located near the black-striped stone pillar and sustained by godly power under extreme time acceleration, was also intensely analyzing the same problem. Gradually, insights began to emerge in his mind like flashes of enlightenment. He had once believed that the paths of universe masters, true gods, and sector beasts were completely unrelated, but now he began to sense a shared underlying principle between these systems of life structure. From a different perspective, what once appeared contradictory could now be interpreted in a unified way. Luo Feng realized that a single diagram could be understood differently depending on the observer's viewpoint. With this shift in thinking, he began to identify a common foundation between the extremely complex life structure systems that had previously seemed incompatible. He extended his right hand, which was formed from countless strands of godly power, each containing his soul imprint. With absolute control and precision, he examined the internal structure of his own life form. Life structure, he murmured. Combination. With a single command from his consciousness, his life structure began to shift. Although he had already reached 89.999 times the life gene level, considered the theoretical limit of perfection for ordinary life structures, he now acted like a supreme architect reconstructing reality itself. Most of the microscopic structures remained unchanged, but the overall framework of his life structure underwent a subtle yet profound reorganization. As these changes took place, Luo Feng's understanding of the relationship between universe masters, true gods, void space true gods, and sector beasts became increasingly clear. However, At the moment his structure began to stabilize, an unexpected phenomenon occurred. A tiny portion of his life structure suddenly detached itself. It was not something he intentionally controlled. Instead, it was a natural rejection response from the structure itself. Like a ripe fruit falling from a branch, a small fragment of his life structure broke away and rapidly transformed. Within moments, that fragment underwent a chain reaction of internal restructuring. The original pattern, which Luo Feng could still partially comprehend, evolved at an accelerating speed into something far more complex and mysterious, something even he could no longer fully understand. Then, that fragment took shape. It became a miniature version of Luo Feng, naked, seated cross-legged, wearing a faint smile as though in eternal calm. Immediately after, the transformation spread. Pa, 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 one after another. Countless fragments of his life structure detached and transformed. Some miniature Luo Feng figures were roaring in fury. Some stood like warriors ready for battle. Some were deep in thought. Some were lying asleep. Some were laughing. And some appeared completely still in meditation. The process happened so quickly that it defied normal perception. Within what felt like an instant, his entire life structure had transformed into 100.000 glowing light points. Each light point contained a miniature Luo Feng, each one independent yet still subtly connected to form a complete unified structure. Seeing this, even Luo Feng himself was shocked. Because this structure was identical in quantity to what he had previously observed in the sector beast's life diagram, 100.000 fundamental light points, each containing an extremely complex life form. However, there was a difference. Although both shared the same structural pattern, Luo Feng could clearly feel that his own version was more profound, more perfect, and more aligned with a higher form of life existence. As the 100.000 light points stabilized, another transformation began. His godly power began to react. A ripple spread from the first strand of godly power in his right hand. Like ink dissolving into water, the change spread uncontrollably but naturally. Golden light emerged from his arm, rapidly expanding across his body. This was not destruction, but evolution. His godly body began transforming under the attraction of a higher-level life structure. Every strand of godly power, already imprinted with his life essence, was being reorganized. The transformation spread like a chain reaction, unstoppable and accelerating. In less than 5 seconds, his entire body had turned into radiant golden light. Even his hair and skin were no longer physical matter but condensed divine radiance. Then the transformation reached its peak. Boom! A silent explosion of unimaginable magnitude erupted, far beyond anything comparable to a universe master's self-destruction. It was as if the core of existence itself had ignited. From Luo Feng's body, 1 trillion rays of golden light erupted outward. These lights moved without restriction, ignoring distance, space, and time. In an instant, they covered the solar system, then expanded to the Milky Way, then the entire human territory, and then the whole Ganwu universe. Nothing could block them. The golden light passed through civilizations of humans, demons, automaton races, insect races, and all other life forms. It penetrated the darkest, most barren regions of the primal universe where no life could survive. Even the will of the universe origin could not suppress it. The light continued outward, breaking through the membrane of the primal universe itself, extending into the vast, chaotic universe ocean beyond. At that moment, Luo Feng became the center of everything. 1 trillion rays of light radiated from him, illuminating not only the entire primal universe but also regions beyond it. On Earth, every living being felt it. Humans, whether powerful immortals or newborn infants, stopped what they were doing and instinctively turned toward the source of the golden light. The radiance bypassed all physical barriers and entered directly into their souls. Within their consciousness, a golden figure appeared, calm, vast, and indescribably noble. It was Luo Feng. To Earthlings, this figure was immediately recognizable. Even those who had never seen him before felt an instinctive certainty in their hearts. Their admiration, respect, and reverence surged uncontrollably, and many instinctively knelt under the overwhelming pressure of their own life origin responding to a higher existence. Across Milky Way Holy Land, the effect was even more intense. Over 100 universe masters and numerous true gods were bathed in the golden radiance. Within their souls, the same golden figure appeared, as though engraved directly into their life essence. True Yan trembled as he looked at the vision. Emotion surged through him. He understood that this was not merely power, it was a transformation of life itself. A proof that his disciple had stepped into an unimaginable realm. Even the true gods, proud and ancient beings, could not resist the instinctive pressure from their own existence. They knelt not out of submission to a ruler, but out of recognition of a higher form of life that transcended conventional hierarchy. Within the broader Milky Way Holy Land, disciples, servants, universe masters, and true gods alike all reacted similarly. Fire Dome and Luo Feng's other disciples stood stunned, both shocked and overwhelmed with emotion. Elsewhere, countless races across the primal universe experienced the same phenomenon. All life forms, whether flesh, mechanical, plant-based, or energy-based, responded in accordance with their life origins. From the weakest beings to the strongest ancestors, all were affected. Instinct overrode will, and reverence replaced resistance. Even Luo Feng's enemies, including powerful ancestral beings and rulers of various races, were compelled to kneel, not because of coercion, but because their life origin itself acknowledged a higher existence. The golden light did not discriminate between good and evil, friend or foe. It represented something beyond morality or hierarchy. It represented the emergence of a supreme life form under the universal law of the universe ocean. Eventually, after spreading across trillions of light years and influencing countless civilizations, the golden radiance gradually began to fade. The primal universes will regain control of spacetime, and normal perception returned to all beings. But the imprint remained. Every life form that had seen the golden light retained an indelible memory deep within their soul, a towering golden figure standing beyond comprehension. And that figure was Luo Feng.